Yo, 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 yo. Welcome everyone. I hope we all are doing well. It's been a while that I streamed live on YouTube. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been a while, but very, very excited definitely for today's live trading stream. You guys should all be able to see me. You guys should all be able to see the current Bitcoin short position that I am currently running on the charts. Hope everything is running smoothly. Some people already tuning in. Happy to see that for sure. For sure. Yes, man. Feels good to be back, guys. I'm doing well, Neon. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. How are you doing? All right. Everything should be running smooth. Welcome to the stream as well, Jorkop. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see some people already tuning in. Hey, Pim, how are you doing, my friend? How are you doing? What is wrong with the RR my friend? Tell me what is wrong with this RR. The RR is 1.6. That's all I need in order to be consistently profitable over a longer period of time. How are you doing, Pim? Pills and charts. Well, no pills for me yet, but a simple cup of coffee. Nice. Damn, all for RR. I'm very sorry to hear that, my friend. I'm very sorry to hear that. Apparently, you have little to no understanding of what trading actually entails. I am short. Good day, JDR. I will check the DM, Maurice. Thank you for some kind words as well, HSN. But trust me, my friend, like targeting a minimum fixed RR and that kind of stuff is very, very overrated in trading. Welcome to the stream as well, P. Kinman. How are you doing, my friend? You plus Vector together navigate so good through all of this. Thank you. It's my pleasure, Jorkop. What's your nationality? I am from Korea. I am personally from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. So, as you guys can see, quickly also obviously going to dive a bit into the chart. I am short on Bitcoin. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I am short and bearishly biased on Bitcoin. Welcome to the stream as well. Hussein, how are you doing, my friend? Good to see you here. Quickly starting from scratch. First of all, like higher time frame, I'm personally expecting Bitcoin to range here for a little bit, okay? Bitcoin is near high time frame demand and support. So this final leg towards the downside that we saw over here swept into this local liquidity pool before starting a very strong impulsive move towards new all-time highs, right? Meaning that this final leg towards the downside, over here, a lot of demand entered the market, okay? And I think this is a very strong area for the bulls to hold on to. Now that in line with obviously a massive move from this high all the way towards this low over here of minus 36%, I personally don't think that I don't think that this is going to happen. Neither do I think that this is going to happen. What is up, Classics 106? So I think it makes sense after a very strong impulsive move towards the downside over here that price simply starts ranging, okay? That's what you often see that happens. Now, the reason why is that price, first of all, either needs to reaccumulate or redistribute, right? After a big impulsive leg to the downside or towards the upside. And also, the issue is for most retail traders is that if price sees a big move to the downside like this one over here, or vice versa, a big strong impulsive move towards the upside, the majority of retail traders, they are very eager to get into the market, because you have to be aware of the fact that the majority of retail either misses this leg to the downside or it was long during this leg towards the downside, okay? Which means that the majority of the people, aka the retail traders, they want to get back into the market because they either missed the move or they made a big loss during the move. So they are really eager to get back into the market. Now, what is the best way to hurt people that are very eager to get into the market? It's by ranging. It's by range-bound price action. So where a lot of people are looking for an impulse like this or are looking for an impulse like this, I think it makes most sense for price to just continue ranging for a tiny little bit longer, okay? At least like maybe 1-2 more weeks, maybe even longer, maybe even for the remainder of the month of December, okay? Now, keeping that in mind, welcome to the stream as well, Diamond Palm, long time no see, how are you doing, my friend? Keeping that in mind, we can see that on the 4 hour, right over here, we have our range high, and also right over here, we have our range low for Bitcoin, meaning that the range high has been tested once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. This is the 8th test of the range high. Now, we can also see and argue that we have seen a bit of a deviation occurring over here above that range high. Now, going towards the 1 hourly time frame, we can see that Bitcoin took out the previous week high over here, okay, once and a second time over here. So the liquidity that was resting above this high, and these highs over here, that liquidity got mitigated once and a second time over here. Now, why do I like the fact that the liquidity got mitigated twice? Because we know that if we truly want to mitigate any sort of liquidity pool, it's going to take time, right? Spending time inside of that liquidity pool in order for the bigger players in this market to fill all of their short or long positions, okay? Now, if we look at this first impulse in towards that liquidity pool right there, we can see that price only spent around 1 hour inside of that massive liquidity pool above the previous week high. I don't think that spending 1 hour inside of a liquidity pool is enough time for the bigger players to fill all of their buy or sell orders, okay? Now, if I have to compare this to a real life example, which is what I always try to do to explain the reason why Bitcoin or any sort of asset needs to spend a lot of time inside of a liquidity pool before we actually have mitigated it, it's like in real life, for example, you want to buy 1 million lemons. If you want to buy 1 million lemons, it's going to literally take a lot of time for you to fill all of your bags with those lemons, right? So you're going to navigate obviously first towards a storage where they have millions of lemons available. And then when you have arrived inside of that storage, which is exactly what's happening on the chart, right? big players push the price towards an area where there's a lot of liquidity, but then when you arrive in that liquidity pool or in the storage, it's going to take time to fill your orders, to fill your bags, okay? You're not going to fill all of your bags in just 1 hour over here. But we made sure that we pushed into that liquidity pool a second time during FOMC with a very aggressive impulse during a news event. Now, that means that a lot of people were also breakout longing the price right there, all right? Which means that we could have also absorbed that long and buy pressure over here to fill the bigger orders of the bigger players, right? So now we have spent time inside of that liquidity pool to fill orders once and a second time. And I kind of like that, okay? So that is, in my opinion, quite bearish. Now, while pushing in towards that previous week high a second time, we also swept a bunch of buy-side liquidity that was resting above this high right here on Bitcoin. And at the exact same time, Bitcoin was forming an SMT divergence with Ethereum. So where Ethereum was forming a higher high, Bitcoin was forming a lower high. That is what we call a bearish SMT divergence, which was set into play because afterwards Bitcoin also gave us a market structure break, bearish market structure break towards the downside over here. Okay, I do love my lemons indeed, Hurry. That is not a lie, my friend. Mareksu is asking, where do you see the market goes next? A bear market or a new all-time high? To be fair, for my day trades, I don't care too much. In general, I personally don't think that the bull market top is in. That's just my opinion. But in terms of day trading, I truly don't care. So we have this bearish market structure break. We have this SMT and the mitigation of that liquidity pool that I just spoke about. In my opinion, that's quite bearish. Now, what is in line with this bearish idea is that let me quickly remove all of these drawings. I was actually about to do so, Neon. Now, what we can see is if I mark out the SMT stands for smart money technique. Smart money technique, basically to indicate a potential reversal. P. Kinman. Good question, my friend. I'm actually going to do a live stream for all the students next week, P. Kinman, on SMT divergence. So we have our weekly open over here and we have our weekly close over here. We can see that Bitcoin first formed the high for the week and then we formed the low for the week, okay? Which means that the high over here is our P1, our first pivot that we formed for the weekly candle. And then we have our P2, which was the second pivot that we formed for the weekly candle. That's perfect, P. Kimmen. And if you're not going to be there, I'm going to record the live stream as always. So our high is the P1 for Bitcoin and our low is the P2 for Bitcoin. If we now navigate towards the brighter data platform over here and I select the last 18 months of weekly time data on Bitcoin and we give it a second to load, it's quite slow, I don't know why. How many trading strategies do you have for day trading? Do you share your trading rules? Yes, Mariksu, I actually, I do run a one-on-one mentorship program. There's a link to apply for the program to see if you are a good fit potentially in the description down below. And that's where I share my day trading strategies. Myro, I am still swing long on BCH. Yes, I am. So even though I am short on Bitcoin, I am still swing long on BCH. So I don't know, Mariksu, if you are potentially interested in being guided one-on-one by me. The slots for December are completely filled. but yeah, there is a waiting list for January. So you can apply through the first link in the description down below. So now going towards the Brighter Data platform, we can see that the high got formed on Tuesday and the low got formed on Thursday, okay? If we navigate towards the bottom right, we can see that based on the timing of the high and also the low, that only 1.3% of weeks would take out the weekly high from here, meaning that there is a very, very high probability that we are going to hold that weekly high on Bitcoin. Now, at the exact same time, we can also see that 81.8% of weeks form a new P2 after Thursday 2:30 in the afternoon for Bitcoin. Okay, now that means if we go back towards the Bitcoin chart, based on the timing, right, where we put in the high for the week and also the low for the week, the high has a high probability to hold for the rest of the week. The low has a decent probability to get taken out, because since there is, based on historical data of the last 18 months, a 99 or let's say 98% probability to hold the weekly high, there's also an 81.8% probability to form a new P2 throughout this current weekly candle. Now we know that a new P2 can both mean a new high or a new low for the weekly candle, but considering the fact that the weekly high over here has a high probability to hold, we can assume that if we form a new P2, that there's going to be a higher probability that a new P2 would mean a new weekly low towards the downside for Bitcoin. Now that doesn't mean that we cannot take out the weekly high. We can definitely still take out the weekly high, but it means that around the weekly high is exactly where I have the invalidation for my short trade on Bitcoin, okay? Because I know that I'm playing the weekly candle. I'm always trying to trade the weekly candles on Bitcoin. If we take out this high, we are likely going to continue a little bit higher for the rest of the week, okay? As long as we hold this high for the remainder of this weekly candle, there is a decent probability that we still take out this low, which is also close towards my take profit target, okay? Now, let's have a look at the weekly distance statistics for Bitcoin as well. And I am going to select the last 3 years of weekly distance data. And when I look at the weekly distance data based on the last 3 years of data, I can see that 86.7% of weeks see a bigger move compared to the current move that we have seen so far of negative 5.7%. Okay, so far Bitcoin has seen a move from its weekly high towards its weekly low of indeed 5.7%. Now, the data of the last 3 years is showcasing towards us that 86.7% of weeks see a bigger move than the current move from the high towards the low for the bearish weekly candles, meaning that price has quite some energy left to see a bigger displacement compared to the current displacement that we have seen so far this week on Bitcoin. Okay, now obviously, once again, a bigger displacement can mean more displacement from this low towards this high, but we assume it's going to be more displacement from this high towards this low because our bias is bearish for Bitcoin. Okay, so in my opinion, enough reasons to hold this short on Bitcoin, in which I'm risking around $13,000 on this stop loss. So if I get stopped out, I lose around $13,000. If I win this trade and if I hit my take profit target, I will gain around $20,000 for Bitcoin. Okay, so that's the setup I will be playing today in New York. New York session is going to start in around 10 minutes. Very interesting to see how the New York session will develop. There is some scenarios where I might be interested towards more shorts on Bitcoin. I can quickly map out those scenarios before we go into New York. So what we can see is that Bitcoin is definitely building up some liquidity above those highs, right? We have some buy side liquidity resting right there, which means that, in my opinion, if we sweep those highs going into New York, followed by a bearish market structure break towards the downside over here, I think in that case, it's a do or die for the bears, right? If this happens, bears need to step in and they need to see a follow through towards that weekly low over here. So what I might do if we get a scenario like this live on stream is tighten my stop loss from this high, which is in line with the weekly high, right? So at this high, I might tighten my stop loss from this high towards that new invalidation right there, okay? That's definitely a scenario in my opinion that is on the cards for Bitcoin. If this happens, I will be looking to add more margin to my shorts and add another short position. So that could be a trigger for those that are not bearish yet on Bitcoin. I think that if we get a scenario like this, where Bitcoin is going to sweep potentially all of this buy side liquidity that has been building up, followed by bears stepping in, then we might see more downside. Okay, so that's definitely a scenario that I'm looking to potentially play on Bitcoin if we get it, of course. Are there any questions about this, guys? When did you enter a short? I entered a short yesterday during the New York session. So when we saw this leg up and we took out this internal buy side liquidity, that's when I started slowly scaling into my short on Bitcoin. That would definitely be quite nice. If we can create another SMT over here when we take out this buy side, wolf and bear. So for example, Bitcoin forming a higher high, but Ethereum forming a lower high right there, and then get that breakdown would be extra confluence. Usually, for my triggers, there's two ways that I can get a trigger to execute trades. So when you have a regular market structure break like this, in my opinion, this should not be a reason to already execute a long, a regular market structure break, if it aligns with your bias, of course, right? Now, what I would like to see is, let's say price, this is a very easy example, has this sell side liquidity pool right here, pushes up, and then we see this. This could be a reason for me to say, okay, I am long. Why? Because this low sweeps into an important sell side liquidity pool. But the first low that we formed over here did not sweep into any sell side liquidity pool. And that, to me, is a red flag. So if I would like to play this one, where only the second low sweeps into an important sell side liquidity pool, right? Or if I've inverted chart, the second high. In that case, I need an SMT between Bitcoin and Ethereum to confirm it as a high probability trigger. Okay? Now, let's say price, once again, builds up that liquidity. and then both lows sweep into the liquidity pool like this, and then we break structure towards the upside over here. In this case is what I call a high probability trigger. This means that I don't need any SMT over here, or I don't need any SMT over here, or whatever. If both lows over here mitigate that liquidity that we have been building up over here, and this bullish market structure break is in line with my bullish idea for that day or that week, I don't need an SMT to confirm this as a high probability trigger, and I can start executing longs over here with my invalidation over here, targeting higher levels. I can do the same here, right? But only if I have that SMT over here or have an SMT over here. But preferably I want that SMT over here because this is an internal low, right? I would like that SMT to occur with external structure. That's a very good question as well. What was your confirmation to enter that short from yesterday? I just explained that actually, Mareksu. I just explained that, and you can find it here. So you can see SMT, higher high, lower low, mark structure break, SMT manipulating that high, right? And I have a bearish bias. So this is that significant mark structure break that I just spoke about in line with that SMT. Okay? Jorkop is asking, normally speaking, when you post about sweeping and then breaking down or up, where do we enter the trade? When we go back below the line, then wait, but for how long? 5-minute close? Very, very good question, Jorkop. It really depends on what time frame the structure is visible. So let's say I have a bearish bias, okay? So my bias is bearish, and I'm waiting for a bearish trigger. If in this case, on the 5-minute time frame, right, over here, let's say I have a bearish bias and I'm waiting for a bearish trigger. In this case, the structure is visible on the 5-minute time frame, right? Because we can see 1, 2 red candles exceeding each other, confirming a higher low over here. This is no valid higher low, no valid higher low, no valid higher low, no valid higher low. Because for a valid higher low, we need 2 consecutive red candles in a row exceeding each other. But over here, 2 red candles in a row exceeding each other. So a valid higher low. So the structure over here of this leg up is visible on the 5-minute time frame. It's not visible on the 10-minute time frame. So in that case, I'm going to wait for my 5-minute trigger. What do I mean by a 5-minute trigger? I mean that I want a candle to not only close below this low, but to open and close below this low over here on the 5-minute time frame, which happens over here. So as soon as this candle opens below this low and closes below this low, I have my 5-minute trigger, and then I can execute shorts with my invalidation above that high, for example, targeting this low right there. Okay? That's potentially how you can execute a trade. Now, if this structure over here would have been visible on the 15-minute time frame as well, and also on the 5-minute time frame, I will always wait for the 15-minute time frame trigger instead of the 5-minute time frame trigger. Okay, so you always want to see, okay, on what time frames is my structure and is price action visible, and can I count the structure? If the structure is visible on the 5-minute, but also on the 15-minute time frame, I will always be waiting for the 15-minute time frame to confirm my market structure break by opening and closing a candle below the low or above the significant high. Why is that? That's the reason because an M15 candle contains 3 times the amount of data compared to a 5-minute candle. Okay? 3 times the amount of data. Now, if a candle contains 3 times more data it means that the outcome is a lot more reliable. And that's very, very important to be aware of. Okay, and therefore I will always choose the highest time frame possible, and usually I prefer 15-minute time frame and above. Okay, good question though, Jorkop. I hope this answers your question. Classics is asking if I only use market structure or also volume/order book. I don't use volume, I don't use the order book. All that I'm using is market structure, it's liquidity, and it's brighter data. So the platform over here, which is providing me with very interesting data and statistics that are helping me with data-driven decisions. And this is what helps me to filter out low probability trades. Welcome to the stream, Luke Fawaka. How are you doing, my friend? So I hope that answers your question, Classics 106. So it's mainly market structure, price action, whatever you want to call it, liquidity, and brighter data. I don't use order flow, I don't use the order book, nothing. I am a big fan of simplicity. In the meantime, Bitcoin is pumping a little bit during the New York Open. As I said, guys, going to hold this short towards take profit or towards the stop loss. So risking around $13,000 to make potentially $20,000 if my bias is going to be right. Let me know if you guys have any questions. I would love to answer some questions, mate. Lots of people watching as well. I appreciate every single one of you guys. To those that are not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, I upload at least 2 videos per week where I do analysis on the market, where I give education on trading, etc. So a subscription would be much, much, much appreciated. For ETH, also short actually. So I'm short on both Bitcoin and also on Ethereum. Marexu is asking, is brighter data important for your strategy? Is your strategy possible without it? Yes, my strategy is possible without brighter data. But I started using brighter data around 1.5 years ago. And when I started using it, it increased my win rate from around 52-53% to around 60%, which is obviously a massive difference. I was already profitable with a 52-53% win rate, but obviously it increased my win rate, which made trading a lot easier and also a lot more profitable. Let's see if there's going to be some nice opportunities across the board, Maurice. I hope so. Well, the trading view was glitching for a little bit. So my average entry is around here. How do you manage your risk based on time frame 15? My risk is very very much fixed. What I sometimes do, Maro, so I use a fixed risk. 1R is 2% for me usually. What I sometimes do though, Miro, is let's say, well, right now is a good example actually. Right now is a good example because Bitcoin gave me a short trigger, so I'm short on Bitcoin over here. And also at the exact same time, ETH also gave me a short trigger. So I am also short on ETH over here with still a DCA entry over here. Okay. Now I am short on both because both gave me a short trigger. What I then sometimes do to preserve my capital and protect my risk is that I split my risk between them two. Okay, so let's say, for example, I would want to risk 20K, for example, on the short. Then instead of risking 20K on Bitcoin and 20K on the Ethereum short, I would risk 10K on Bitcoin and 10K on Ethereum, for example. Welcome to the stream, DLB. How are you doing, my friend? Good to see you here, my friend. Yes, price action is pretty boring. Yesterday as well. Whoa, classics, my friend. He's asking, this might be a dumb question. Let me tell you one thing. There is no such thing, for me at least, as a dumb question, okay? So, first of all, thank you for this amazing question, because it's an amazing question. Any question is an amazing question, but this one is actually really good as well. Because Classics is asking, how do you reliably identify sell side and buy side liquidity? Bro, that's such an intelligent question, actually. Because the majority of people think that liquidity is truly as easy as marking out a previous day high or previous day low, or a previous week high or previous week low. In my opinion, that's not the way that liquidity works, okay? So your question is 1000% valid. I think that liquidity is being engineered on the chart by price action from the past that triggers a certain reaction in human beings that therefore make a certain decision. That decision makes them open a certain position. If a lot of people at the exact same time either open up the same position, such as breakout long positions or breakdown short positions, that long or short pressure can then be absorbed by the bigger players to fill their own bigger sell or buy orders. Or if a lot of people open up the exact same positions, right, they need a low or a high to cover the stop loss of that position. If they all decide to place their stop loss below a week low or above a week high, that's also engineering liquidity. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Classics? Before I try to give you some examples on the chart. Welcome to the stream, pseudo privileges. How are you doing, my friend? I'm doing well, DOB. Thank you for asking. Just streaming on a Friday afternoon, which I really enjoy, and then afterwards I will be taking my mom for dinner actually tonight at a new place here in Amsterdam. So that's really nice. On a date with my mom. Meridi is asking, is there any ways to join your Discord? Well, Meridi, the only way to join my Discord, which is part of the one-on-one program, is by applying through the link in the description down below. The slots for December are filled, though. So you can apply, and I might reach out to you if I like your application, but then it would be for January, for a waiting list for January. But we'll have a chat if you can apply through, there's just a form that you can fill out. Don't need to pay anything, nothing. Yeah, I hope the food is good as well, DOB. It's in the Pijp. So not in Amsterdam North. Amsterdam North, unfortunately. If one of my best friends actually, DOB, because you live in Amsterdam North, correct? Or am I tripping? One of my best friends, he took over the Eikantine. I don't know if you know the place. With 2 other guys. Show examples. Yep, it's more understandable. Trying to. Classics. Okay. So, okay, Classics. Let me know if you understand this. If price does this, do you think there was a lot of liquidity resting beneath this low and beneath this low? Do you think there was a lot of liquidity resting beneath this low and also beneath this low? Yes, usually I try to target like 2.5, 3, sometimes 4R, market's especially on swing trades, usually a lot higher even. But the trades that I'm taking, this one on Bitcoin and on Ethereum, are the trades where I'm trying to play the expansion phase of the candle. I will explain more about that in a little bit. But for example, I am also swing long on BCH. And this is a high RR trade for me. I think it's like a 10R trade. So this is a 10R swing trade, 9.98R on BCH. It depends on the setup. I need an RR of at least 1.6 though. Yes, Hutspot, you mean for $1. Classics thinks that the second one has more liquidity. I think neither one of them have a lot of liquidity resting. Because you have to ask yourself this question. What did price do over here, right? That triggered a lot of people into opening up long positions to then place their stop loss over here. I think price didn't do anything right here. It just bounced a little bit. But just bouncing a little bit doesn't mean that a lot of people are going to long this bounce and then place their stop loss over here to then engineer liquidity over here, right? Good morning, SMT. Welcome as well, DJO Tunko. He's asking, what is your risk? I'm currently risking $13,000 on this short on Bitcoin. That is my risk. Now, let me ask you this question, Classics. Do you think there is a lot of liquidity resting above these highs right here that I just marked out? So do you think there's a lot of liquidity resting here and here? I do think that no problem at all, Classics. I will try to help you. I do think there is a lot of liquidity resting above this high and above this high. These days, I definitely make more money trading than through my business, Myro. And I do if I combine all the businesses that I run and all the things that I do on the side, I think it's like 50-50 to be fair. So price formed a high over here. Then it gave a push towards the downside over here. So where it just provided a little bit of a dead cat bounce over here, it bounced, then it formed a high, and it pushed towards the downside, breaking through this previous low right here, through this one. I think this move and breaking through this low triggered a lot of breakdown short positions of people over here. And those shorts, or the people that open shorts over here up on a pullback because it broke through the previous low, they need a high to cover their stop loss, which is going to be this high over here, then targeting lower levels. So therefore, I think this way over here, this move from high towards this low, this price action is triggering a certain reaction for humans to open up a lot of positions at the exact same time over here, and therefore engineer liquidity over here. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So let's take, for example, Bitcoin right now. I told you guys at the beginning of the stream that I believe No, I don't use SPX as confluence for my Bitcoin trades. No, I just try to trust the Bitcoin chart. I told you guys there is a lot of liquidity resting above these highs, right? And it also looks like we are currently going to try and target all of that liquidity right there. Now, why did I think that there is a lot of liquidity resting above those highs? Because this high over here gave us an impulse to the downside that broke through this previous low with an aggressive candle, right? As you guys can see, which means that since price broke aggressively through this previous low, which carried no significance, by the way, because it only brought us to a lower high, but it broke through it with a lot of aggression. I think a lot of people opened up breakdown short positions over here, targeting, for example, these lows right here. Agreed? Those shorts, right, that are opened over here, they need a high to cover their stop loss, because you're not going to put your stop loss halfway through a candle over here, for example. You're going to find a high that you think should cover your stop loss. Now, which high is that going to be? It's going to be this high right here. So those breakdown shorts that were opened over here upon this leg down have placed their stops above this high over here. And therefore, I think there's a lot of liquidity resting. So I try to figure out what price action has done or is doing. And I try to figure out the human reaction to that price action to then figure out where the liquidity is truly resting. Do you understand what I'm trying to say right now, Classics 106? Let me know, Classics. Okay, perfect. And you can always keep on asking me these questions, Classics 106, until you understand, you know, slowly but surely. There's actually a decent video I made on this topic as well that you can watch after the stream. I'm going to send it to you in the chat, okay, Classics? SSR Capital is asking if I am in that short. Yes, I am. I am short like this, SSR Capital. Here you go, Classics. I'm going to try and tag you at Classics. Oh. Here's the video. It's my pleasure. Let me know if you have any questions after that video. You can always send me a DM on X or on Instagram. To those that don't follow me on X or Instagram yet, also those links can be found in the description down below of this video. Why you don't go on the 15-minute order block short? I executed the way that I executed Messi. Nice, similar idea for me as well, but short on ETH. I am also actually short on ETH, SSR Capital. This is the short position that I am running on ETH. TCA entry over here in case we get an exit pump. Targeting this liquidity. Question from Fart Dollar. Nice name. Sipping some coconut water to stay hydrated. Would you say that 8 taps into 94k makes it much weaker resistance now? That's funny, right? A lot of people think, okay, the more times we test resistance or the more times we test support, the weaker it becomes. I don't necessarily think that's actually the case. Neon 43 is asking, will you close this short trade if Current New York session stats go bullish. Might be. Let's see on stream what it looks like. Antonin, my friend, how are you doing? Bossman, good to see you here. I hope you are doing well, brother. Where are you at currently? Naples, Paris, little world traveler. Jake is saying, hello, bro. Saw your account yesterday and been following you since. Love your stuff. Appreciate that, Jake. Really appreciate that. Welcome. Welcome to the family. Yeah, but I am already fully sized into this position, Messi. So I'm not looking to add anything more to this position unless we get the breakdown that I spoke about like this. And I'm looking to add more margin over here and move my stop loss from this high towards this high. Do you see what I'm trying to say, Messi? I joined late, but I might have missed it to enter a position. What is the time frame you use mostly? I think for my analysis 1 hour and 4 hour, and then for my executions and triggers 15-minute time frame. Nice one, Antonin. I know you're always good. One of the most positive guys I've ever met in my life, literally. Animal Stories is asking how to learn trading like you. Well, Animal Stories, I have a one-on-one mentorship program that you can apply for through the link in the description down below. The spots and slots are filled for the month of December, but you can apply and we can maybe have a chat if I like your application and then see if we can put you on the waiting list for January. That's how you can learn my strategy. In the meantime, ETH, not much happening as well. Kind of want to see what euro against the dollar is doing. Like, strong move up. I was swing short on euro, got absolutely smacked on that position. Let me find euro. Euro against the dollar. Still think we are distributing over here though. To be fair on euro. Like, you have this liquidity point. And we have been ranging inside of that massive liquidity pool for a long time by now. And it looks quite distributive to me. I am not going to lie. I think we will range for the next month or two, Jake, to be quite fair on crypto. So I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the live stream. I think in terms of probabilities, the highest probability will be to just continue to range. I know that's a very boring answer because people want to hear that we either do this or that we do this, but I think we will actually do this, to be fair. That's just my general expectation on crypto. Boring, eh? I'm a boring guy sometimes. I hope the answer, though, satisfies you. Now, in terms of euro against the dollar, like I said, my gut feeling is that we are ranging and that we are distributing over here. I agree, Wolf. Ranging is better for trading often. Agree, after this large liquidation moves, we tend to range. Exactly, SSR Capital. That's exactly what I mentioned at the beginning of the stream as well. Usually after a strong impulsive leg up, you range. Usually after a strong impulsive leg down, you range. And I explained at the beginning of today's live stream why I think that's the case and why the market behaves in that manner. Same right now in Euro basically, right? Strong move up followed by range bound price action. Yeah, I think this looks quite distributive still. Can still take out these equal highs. But personally, I would be waiting for a breakdown over here. And I think at some point, Euro is going to trade back towards these lows. And the dollar is going to regain its strength against the Euro. That's just my general expectation. Just because Europe is just fucking weak as well, right? In terms of this maybe a little bit more geopolitical situation. Yeah, I just think that Euro in general is quite weak these days, and that America will take over even more, you know, which is going to hurt the Euro obviously. But the chart is at the end of the day telling the story. Like I said, you can reject your range high over here and then break down. This would be my confirmation to start swing shorting. But my main confirmation will be to transfer all the euros I have into dollars. That's basically how I'm going to trade, like, this expectation if it plays out, if I get my trigger, you know, which is a funny way of trading. But over time, let's say you were holding just dollars over here as a European citizen, you would have lost 17% of your net worth. That's crazy. Or you could have gained 17% of your net worth, right? If you transitioned to euros instead of dollars, which is wild, right? So let's say you get this trigger and you start converting your euros over here to dollars, and then you get this move towards these lows, you gain 10% on your net worth by not doing anything, by just being able to read the high time frame chart and have a little bit of geopolitical knowledge, you know, which I think is just super powerful and super interesting for people that, yeah, hold a lot of cash or fiat. So definitely quite interesting, and definitely going to keep my eyes on the chart. And also, like, another scenario could be not to reject the range high, but like I said, to sweep these equal highs one more time and then reject. Very much possible as well. Can take a little longer, you know, this range bound price action over here before you get another expansion. Quanta Strike Pro is asking if I am still short on Bitcoin. Yes, I am. Yeah, if you take the 4-hour fractal from April till May, this one? So yeah, that's my view on Euro, Bitcoin. Let's have a look at the New York session time statistics. Oh, let's have a look at Justy Fridays first. Brighter data is $50 per month. Maisie. Thank you, Quanta Strike Pro. Appreciate that. I explained during the beginning of the live stream for a long time, Elliot Alderson, why I'm short on Bitcoin. But this, in a nutshell, is my trigger, let's say. Not my reasons necessarily, but my trigger. And my reasons why I am bearish on Bitcoin can be found in my YouTube video of yesterday as well, Elliot Alderson. Let me know if that's sufficient, or if not, I can go again. Yeah, we can find the data for the Friday New York sessions like this. Right now, it suggests that the low is quite strong, but both like, oh, this is only the last, let's do last 18 months. Both like the low and also the high have been formed during this time period over here. Thank you, Quanta Strike Pro. Oh shit. Yeah, I am short Elliot Anderson, but it might also just squeeze towards new weekly highs. Like, I don't know, you know. At the end of the day, it's always a game of probabilities. I try to bend the probabilities a little bit in my favor by doing the analysis the way that I'm doing it always. But your long might just as well play out. You know what I mean? What is your setup, Elliot Alderson? Maybe send me your setup on Twitter or on Instagram, and I can review it quickly for you. If you can send it to me on Twitter or Instagram in my DM, I can quickly go on my phone and see what your setup is looking like, you know, to see if it's a good setup or not, if you want, Elliot Alderson. I definitely hope Elliot is not going all in, but Meredy. Well, yeah, he's trading with 10 BTC size, but that doesn't necessarily tell us his risk, you know. We don't know the size of his portfolio, nothing, so. Copying traders is never a great idea, Elliot Edison. Elliot, if you want, you can send me the setup on Twitter DM or Instagram DM, and I can review it for you. Are you holding these shorts on Bitcoin if we don't see the weekly low before Sunday? Probably. It depends, obviously. If we hit my stop loss, I am out of the position, of course. But yeah, in my opinion, the structure is. I have Telegram as well, Elliot Alderson. You can send me a DM on Telegram. It's just Trading Yip is my Telegram tag and name. Trading Yip. I got a question about the bright data statistics. Let's say you are bearish on the weekly, but you got bullish New York session or daily stats at Friday. Would you stick to your plan till the end, or you would? It really depends, Hussein. It's a very good question. It depends, man. It depends on the setup. It's a really good question, by the way. The way that I look at it is, let's say you have bearish weekly stats, right? And you have a bearish bias as well for the week. Now, if that's going to be the case, if you then get, wait 1 sec, I'm trying to explain it. Let's say you are bearish for the week, but the weekly stats are very bullish. In my opinion, that would help me not to take shorts even though I'm bearish, if the weekly stats are strongly bullish, right? So it helps me to filter trades that I think are in line with my bias and that I think are high probability, but according to the statistics are actually low probability. Okay? Now, let's say I am bearish on the weekly, or I have bearish stats on the weekly. I'm kind of bearish as well, but the daily is super strong. I would wait with opening a position until the next day starts. You know what I mean? Because the daily candle within that weekly candle can then still expand higher. So potentially I can get a better or higher probability entry with my stop loss than above the weekly high during the next daily candle. You see what I mean, Hussein? So instead of letting the statistics completely control your bias and decision making, I would let it help you to make better data-driven decisions, or to help you filter out low probability trades where you actually initially think that they are high probability trades. You see what I'm trying to say, Hussein? So I would stick to my plan if I am already positioned, coming back to your question, like right now, okay? Unless, for example, let's say the New York session does this, so we get very strong New York bullish session statistics, and then it does this, and it offers me a probability, you know, to get out around break even before it continues like this, then maybe I will grab that opportunity, you know? Hoping for a breakdown. Perfect, Hussein. Not liking the fact that we opened this hourly candle with no wick to the upside though. Don't like that at all. Would like to see a breakdown here, guys, to be fair. I don't know. If we reclaim a squeeze like this, kind of expecting a bullish day for the remainder of the day. We might actually get stopped out. If we get a scenario like that, I'm just hoping that it doesn't squeeze towards my stop loss and that we get a bit of a pullback during the weekend to close it around break even. I don't know. I don't know. Just letting the probabilities play out of my entire setup for now. Let me know if there's any more questions. I'm looking for price to get a confirmed breakdown over here. I think if we get a strong breakdown beneath this low and preferably also beneath this low, then I think we can get an aggressive bearish New York session to the downside. So taking out this and also this low would make me more confident in my short. Then I will probably move my stop loss from these highs towards either this high or this high. If that happens, of course, first needs to happen. P. Kinman is asking if I use any indicators to help my decision making. I don't use any indicators. The only, awesome Kelechi, I will check it out soon. The only indicator I use is Writer Data, and it's not really an indicator. It's just a data platform that is providing me with data and statistics that's helping me to make better data-driven decisions, basically. Balik Amaro is asking if I can tell you guys the story of my trading career. I can. So to the people that are watching that already know, tune out, go do something else with your life. To the people that are watching and don't know my story yet, I used to be a professional football player. And I quit professional football around 3.5 years ago now to go and trade full time. I started trading, I think, around 6 years ago. Back then, I was also playing professional football, and I came back from Germany where I played to go back to the Netherlands due to COVID, right? Everyone had to, go back home and stay home for like 2-3 weeks initially. That was the thought. Turned out it was going to be a hell of a lot longer of a period to stay in the house. But because I moved back from Germany back to the Netherlands to live with my parents again, I saved up some money there and I had no expenses, nothing. I was 18 years old back at the time, and my money was sitting in my bank account, and I was reading this news article that the stock market crashed, the COVID crash, they called it. So I was like, all right, let me invest some money, because my money's sitting there anyways. And back then, like right now, I never, like the last time I gambled on a football match or played poker or anything, although poker is not necessarily gambling in my opinion. The last time I gambled, I can't remember, but back then I would used to gamble every weekend, football matches and stuff. So I was I had a bit of a gambler mindset, and I was like, my money's sitting there anyways. Let me invest it into some stocks. So I bought some stocks, and by accident, basically, I actually bought like the COVID crash bottom, right? In which afterwards, markets started going crazy on stocks, but also on crypto. So I told a friend of mine about the money and ROI that I was making with stocks. And he was like, bro, if you think that, I don't know, I was up like 30-40%, which was a lot in my opinion, which is a lot of money, right? But he was like, if you think 30-40% is a lot, you need to check out crypto, bro. Look at my portfolio. And then he showed me his portfolio, and I was like, listen, bro, crypto is only for criminals, right? Because back in the day, like, bear in mind that 6 years ago, especially in the Netherlands, the way they would write about crypto or talk about crypto was just like it was for the criminals, So I told him, bro, this cannot be true. You are not able to withdraw this, because he was showing me like his portfolio curve of the 2 weeks prior to that, and it was like plus 300-400%. He was like, listen, bro, if I cash out now and the money is in my bank tomorrow, you're also going to join the crypto train. I was like, listen, bro, if you cash out now and the money is there tomorrow, I'm literally selling every single stock I own and I'm putting all my money into crypto and you should tell me what to buy. And it's like, okay, cool. So he sold, I don't know, maybe $100 of his crypto, cashed out, and then the next day sent me the screenshot that the money like arrived in his bank account. Instantly sold all my stocks, bought crypto, basically bought the COVID crash bottom, and crypto went on the biggest bull run, especially for altcoins, probably in history afterwards. So my portfolio just went totally crazy. Yes, 100% agreed, JDR. Poker is very close to trading if you have an edge. That is also why I mentioned like poker is not necessarily gambling. So afterwards, my portfolio started rising like crazy. And obviously, that triggered something in me. And a couple of months later down the line, a teammate of mine who was also big into crypto, he told me about leverage trading. That's basically how I got started, man. And then I lost so much money because I didn't have the right guidance. I didn't know what I was doing. I just started basically gambling money on trades, you know, leverage trades. But I was very fortunate that my crypto portfolio was rising very swiftly. Do you think indicators cloud judgment or why? Yes, you're giving your answer, the answer to your question already, P. Kinman. Indicators are clouding your judgment. Indicators are lagging. They are lagging behind what price action and liquidity and the chart is telling us. And that's just a fact. If people really have a sick indicator, so let's say like an automated trading strategy, they're not going to make it public, my friend. They're going to gatekeep it. That's the way it works. Why did you quit football as a pro? Whoa. Yeah, for a lot of people, it's difficult to comprehend. Just wasn't happy back at the time. And also trading was going really well. So I had a good plan B. If it wasn't for trading going so well, I probably would have continued playing football. But yeah, trading was going really well. And I remember that my ex-girlfriend, she will confirm this. I would wake up and then I had to go to training, you know, and I was like, oh, I want to stay in bed, blah, blah, blah. And then I would go to training and train like twice a day. And I knew that after like the second training, I could go back home and study trading and start trading again. And then when I would sit in the car going back home, all of a sudden I wasn't tired anymore. I had all this energy that was like going through my body. And I was so excited to get back home and to go behind the charts, to study the art of trading. Where actually I should have had like that exact feeling with football as well, you know? So, but I didn't. I did not have that feeling anymore. Where in the youth academy I used to have like that feeling. Yeah, back then I didn't have that feeling for like 3 years already anymore. So it was an easy decision. No, was it? Yeah, I think it was an easy decision because I was just following my gut. I was just following, literally, like it sounds cliche, but I was following my heart. You know, I remember the exact moment I decided to quit football. It was I was in talks with a football club that wanted to sign me, and my dad, he was like my agent. You know, I didn't have like a professional. Just my dad was my agent, and we were sitting. We were having a sit down with the owner of the football club that wanted to sign me. You know, and it was a great chat, like a really great chat. You know, with the owner. Probably couldn't have gone any better. And while I was sitting there with the owner of the club and talking to him and chatting with him, and it was a club that like really suited me. It was, yeah, it was a good opportunity. I was sitting there and he was talking to me, and not 1 second, even though he was saying all these nice things about me and sharing his plan, not 1 second, not one cell or vein in my body was thinking, I want to do this, you know? Not one single cell in my body was excited about that chat, even though I could notice that like it was a great chat. And while sitting there, all of the doubts that I had the weeks prior to that, it just clicked, and I was like, I'm gonna quit. And I didn't tell him on the table right there. And I was driving back with my dad, and my dad was like, "Oh, that was a really good convo." Huh? And I was like, "It was such a great conversation, but I'm going to quit." And he looked at me, and obviously we spoke about it already a little bit. He was like, "If you want to quit, you have a good plan B, and football doesn't make you happy, but something else does. Like, you're 100% right to quit, you know?" My dad used to actually play professional football as well. And so a lot of people expected that my dad would like not support my decision, that kind of stuff. But my dad was actually one of the biggest supporters of my decision, because when he used to play football, he would study law at the same time, because he also wasn't like the biggest fan of playing football. My pleasure, Balik Maro. Thoughts on options expiry at 8 UTC in a few hours? Bro, J Diesel, I never look at that shit, man. Maybe a very harsh answer. I don't mean it that way, of course. But what I do want to say with that answer is that I never actually let news events influence my decision making or my view or bias on the market. I am a strong believer that news events, they don't change the price action. All that news events are doing is speed up the process of price action. I am a firm believer of that statement. So yeah. Samen kijken. Hi, how are you doing? Welcome, my friend. Good to see you in the stream. Samen kijken is asking, I think you are Dutch, looking at your name, is asking where I played. I played in the Netherlands for FC Volendam and Telstar, and in Germany I played for Eintracht Frankfurt. Fischer is saying, you gave up a dream of thousands to follow your heart. Impressive. Thank you for your openness. It's my pleasure, and thank you for the kind words, Fister. I really appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for the kind words. Bitcoin in the meetup is breaking down a little bit, which is nice for our short. I kind of like that, actually. Irza Aziz is asking if I like to be in front of the camera. Well, to be fair, I'm used to it now. Let's put it that way. I don't necessarily like it. Yes, in Velsen-Zuid, indeed. Samen kijken. Where are you from? Are you close to Velsen? Now that Bitcoin has made a new daily low, I kind of want to have a look at the last 12 months of Fridays to see what it means that we made a new daily low. So we can now indeed see, since we made a new daily low, only 1.9% of days take out the daily high from here. You guys can see that, right? So based on the timing of the daily high that we formed over here and the daily low that we are now forming over here, only 1.9% of days take out the daily high from here, which means that I am going to move my stop loss on my short from this high towards this high. Am I going to add more margin? I'm going to move my stop loss to this high and therefore mitigate my risk from $13,000 probably to like $3,000. Because price is creating a new invalidation. I'm probably going to do the exact same thing on ETH. Let me quickly double check Ethereum. I need to move quick on my feet now, guys, due to this breakdown. Apply filters. For ETH, 0% of Fridays would take out the daily high right now. So ETH, we can see this daily high that we formed over here, now a strong high to hold as well. So on ETH, going to remove my second entry, just going to run this short with my new stop loss over here. So now basically Ethereum is a risk-free position, and also Bitcoin is basically a not completely risk-free position, but basically. So tightening. Let's see, quickly updating my one-on-one students as well. So quickly going to adjust my position on Bitcoin. $9,273. So now I'm just going to let both shorts run. This is looking quite good on both of them. Just going to let them run from here. Not going to add any margin, to be fair. Because it's a Friday. If it was a Thursday, I probably would have added more margin. But I'm also going for dinner soon with my mom. And if I go for dinner with my mom one-on-one, I just want to focus on the dinner, not be worried about managing my position all the time. So, yeah, looks good. Looks pretty good. I don't want to jinx it, but it looks pretty good, guys. Sorry guys, doing a bunch of stuff at the same time. Not really nice from my side. Wish you all the best with what you have chosen, brother. Always follow your own heart instead of pleasing others. I appreciate that, samen kijken, and that's one of the lessons I took from that, because now 3.5 years later, I'm so happy that I made that decision, even though back at the time it was a difficult decision. You see what I mean? Very strong statistics indeed. I love listening to your story, little bro, even if I know it already. Really inspiring for everyone. Your sincerity to yourself is beautiful, but I got to go. My daughter wants to have coffee with me. Love you, Yip. Antonin, I don't think you're still on the stream, but love you too, my friend. I love you too. Very strong stats indeed, JB. Something like that, 30 minutes. I played with Den Bosch en later samen met HV Hoorn. Oh, okay. Samen kijken. Okay. I used to play against FC Den Bosch a lot of times. Hi, Yip, can you confirm if there was any short entry on Bitcoin in this local consolidation? No, in my opinion, there wasn't. I can already see that right this. Because these slow grinds, like this, is difficult to trade, you know? So you couldn't have gotten in over here. This was your short trigger to execute this short that I'm currently in, you know? So sometimes there's just not a setup, you know? In this local piece of price action. Whoa, samen kijken. 15 years ago already. Well, my dinner isn't paid yet, samen kijken. Because I haven't taken profit yet on my shorts. Yeah, exactly. Maybe not today, Kelechi. Maybe not today. JB's asking if I ever exit early based on action you're seeing. Yes, I definitely do. Let's say, for example, this is my target on Bitcoin, okay? But I can also see that we have a lot of liquidity resting beneath these lows, okay? So this is my original target. But if Bitcoin decides to take out this liquidity and form a reversal structure over here, right? There is a high probability that Bitcoin is maybe going to do something like this. So in this case, I decide I'm taking profit over here. I'm closing my position because this high probability reversal structure inside of this liquidity pool could trigger a reversal. So if price action shows me that there's a high probability for a potential reversal, that's when I need to take profit. You always let price and the chart decide where you take profit. Until we get this structure, I just let it run towards my main target, which is this weekend liquidity pool. Very good question. I don't know who asked it again, JB. Very good question. At the end of the day, samen kijken, it's a waiting game as well, you know? Yeah, my target is 87.7K Quanta Strike Pro. Gonna bounce to sleep now. Have a good night, Classics. Sleep tight, my friend. And if you ever need help, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram DM. Thank you for tuning into the stream. It's my pleasure, JB. Very good question. I like the question. I'm not the type of guy that always lets a trade run towards my final target. No, definitely not. The short is running. What TPs do I have in mind for Ethereum? Ethereum is dumping aggressive. This one over here is my TP for ETH. Very aggressive. I know. Hype or Aster? Neither, DJ Otunko. I have a different DEX that I'm actually partnered with, so let me be very clear about that, which is called Variational. You can still farm points there, and they are really working their way up there. I'm going to share the link with you. You can sign up through this link and then use this code to test out the platform yourself. Trading conditions are magnificent. I've traded there with very decent size. I know the team behind Variational. Obviously, never financial advice, but I am farming points there. And I think they can become just as big as Hyperliquid or Aster. That's my opinion. I can definitely maybe see a potential aggressive squeeze to the downside as well, Quanta Strike Pro. Kelechi is asking if I can explain how a P2 flips into a P1. Very simple. So, Kelechi, candle open, candle close. right? Let's say this is the candle opening price. Now let's say price first forms a low and then forms a high, like this, right? It means that this is our P1 of the candle because it got formed first. This is our P2 of the candle because the high got formed second. How can this P2 now turn into a P1? If price takes out the current P1. As soon as the current P1 gets taken out, within the same time frame / candlestick, right? It needs to happen. Then this P2 turns into P1 and this new low turns into P2. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, Kalechi? I hope this explains your question. JB is saying, I really like how you and Sergio conduct yourselves. You're good people. Hope to catch you streaming more often. I appreciate the kind words, JB, and I'm looking to make this public live stream on YouTube a weekly event. Maybe like every single Friday afternoon we can do this, you know, if you guys like it, of course. Quickly making 2 screenshots of this. Making a little tweet of this. Yes, it is indeed a case of what high or low of the time frame gets formed first. That's your P1, and the high or low that gets formed second is your P2. But obviously that can flip within a candle, right? Any other channels where you share your thoughts / trades live? Your live went up accidentally on my YouTube feed. New sub. Oh, okay, that's funny, samen kijken. I don't know what your real name is. Naming you samen kijken is so weird in my head. You can follow me on X and Instagram. You can find both links to my Twitter X profile and Instagram profile in the description down below. And yeah, I drop a lot of content on Twitter and also quite a lot of more video content on Instagram. So definitely would appreciate a little follow there as well. Samen kijken. Still don't know your name, so I'm gonna call you Samen kijken. But I really appreciate the sub on YouTube. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, I believe in the universe. Maybe the universe put me on your YouTube feed by accident for a reason. Maybe I can help you to become a better trader. Been streaming already for 1 hour and 40 minutes. Crazy. Feels like I've been streaming for only like 30 minutes. Now it's just a bit of a waiting game, guys, to be quite frank. To those that have not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, it would be much, much, much appreciated. It would make my day, legends. No, the New York session brighter data statistics start at 12 p.m. UTC time. Job is not done, but GG. Don't say GG if the job is not done, my boy Maurice. But yeah, looking decent. Probably still a little lower to go. I appreciate the like, Quanta Strike Pro. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you all for the support. Because 12 p.m. is the true New York Open. But I think that's a question that the original founder of Bright Data can answer better than I do. We have had 452 viewers in total today already, and currently 55 people watching. Guys, insane numbers. I am not going to lie. If the support is going to be like this every single week, I will be doing a weekly live stream on YouTube like this, because I really enjoyed today. And I really enjoyed all the questions, you know. That for me is by far the most important, to make this like a fun live stream, you know. The interaction with you guys really asking questions, also sometimes critical questions, you know, about my setups, and that kind of stuff. So, you know, really appreciate that, definitely. Now let's see if we can end it off with a bang. I have around 45 more minutes, because then my mom will be here. Thank you, Max B. Appreciate that. I will try to make this a weekly thing, like I mentioned, Quanta. I will try my hardest. Next week though might be a bit difficult. Maybe I will do it on like a Tuesday next week, because I will be traveling to Lapland on Thursday, I believe, for 4 days. I love you, Hussein. You are the man, my friend. I hope you are doing well, and I hope the preps for your wedding and stuff are going well. Little blink. Are you a starter or no starter kind of guy? What do you mean with that question exactly, Kelechi? Quanta Strike Pro, do you have a price for the one-on-one program? Just like I said, like I mentioned, apply for the program through the link in the description, and I will review your application, and then we can have a chat, you know? Oh, when I'm going out to eat, Kelechi, I am a starter kind of guy. Yeah, I just love food, and what I love with food is if I can share food with other people. That to me is what food is all about. You know, I think food is what connects people. So yeah, I'm definitely a starter kind of guy. Not really a dessert kind of guy, but I do order dessert just because, like I mentioned, I think dessert also connects, you know? If you can like share the same dessert, or like order two desserts together and then do half and talk about it. And I don't know, it's just food really connects people, I feel like. So yeah, I am a starter kind of guy. But not necessarily dessert kind of guy, but I do still order dessert all the time. I don't know if that even makes sense. I try not to feed my date unless the date is going really well, you know? Can I speak Dutch for 1 minute about trading? I don't even know how to speak Dutch about trading. Because whenever I speak about trading, I just always speak English. And like using Dutch terms and stuff, in my opinion, it wouldn't really make sense. Sharing is not where we are from. You can only become part of Tribe Capital through the one-on-one mentorship these days. I am not doing memberships anymore, but becoming part of Tribe Capital is one of the many parts of the one-on-one mentorship program, Kelechi. But I've seen your DM on Telegram about the one-on-one mentorship program. We will talk further on Telegram, okay? What kind of restaurant are you going to, Yip? Hope you have a great evening. It's actually a new place in the Pijp, which is like an area in Amsterdam. So what kind of restaurant is it? To be fair, I don't know. I just know that one of my best friends is working at that new place, and he told me that I should really try it out. And I believe it's like shared dining, actually. I'm going together with my mom. She will be here in like, I don't know, soon. Thank you for the kind words, Matthew. Really appreciate it. How long do we have until daily close? Daily close is at midnight UTC time. So 0, I believe. Wait 1 sec. Yeah, midnight UTC time over here. My pleasure, Kelechi. How's life in Thailand, Quantastrike Pro? That would be quite nice, eh, DLB? Let's see if we can hit that. I get to know about you from Hyper Bitcoin and Crypto Beam. Hey, appreciate that, Irza. Those are two friends of mine. Both great traders as well, and great persons, which is more important to me. Which is a lot more important. Alrighty, guys. I think I might be wrapping up today's live stream right here. The positions are running. I am up a very decent amount of around 8K on Bitcoin and a little less on Ethereum, but it's unrealized profit, so it doesn't mean anything. But still, both positions are basically risk-free, which is quite nice. At the exact same time, also still running this swing long on BCH, which is holding surprisingly strong against the dump on Bitcoin and ETH. Up around 5K on this one as well. So all in all, it looks like We potentially are going to end the week very well. I'm not going to lie. Hurry. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? That would be absolutely amazing. If by the time I am having my dessert, Bitcoin is going to continue its dump towards its target, and just like Ethereum, that would be absolutely magnificent. When will I go live again? Well, I will definitely go live in front of my mentorship students on Monday in the Discord, but on YouTube publicly, I think I will be doing another live stream on Tuesday. But make sure to keep your eyes on my Twitter, because that's exactly where I will update you guys as soon as I go live again. Okay? Mom's dinner hasn't been paid for yet, Hurry, unless we reach my target. So don't jinx it now. Don't jinx it now. No, I will pay for my mom's dinner anyways, of course. Thailand has no tax on crypto, just became a little harder to get the visa, but you get 5 years for about 2. Oh, really? That's crazy, Quanta Strike Pro. Quanta Strike Pro, are you originally from Thailand? No, right now just, yeah, I did look at the confidence targets a little bit, but I have to refine it. The only way to join the Discord Samen Kijken is by applying through the link in the description down below. So apply for the mentorship, and then I will reach out to you. We will have a chat and see if you potentially are a good fit. I do think you are a good fit though. Let me be clear, because you're Dutchy and you live close to Velsen. But please apply through the first link in the description down below for the mentorship program, and thus also the Discord with the other one-on-one students. Have a great evening with your mother, Yip. Have fun. See you in the... Hussein, thank you, my friend. I will have a great evening with my mom, especially... Okay, Quanta Strike Pro. That's cool. That's really cool. Why did you decide to move to Thailand, Quanta Strike Pro? Quanta Strike Pro, maybe shoot me a DM on Twitter or on Instagram if you want, because I would love to hear more about that visa in Thailand, if you can help me with that. Quanta Strike Pro. So if you can send me a DM on Twitter or on Instagram, you can find the links to those channels in the description down below as well. Please send me a DM there, and we will continue our chat. That a fucking note. Yeah, bro. I played there for 1 year. In the row van Tata. Poh. Wasn't the best for my lungs back then. Okay, guys, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to today's live stream. It was a great stream. I really loved every single one of you guys that tuned in. In total, I can see right here that almost 500 people tuned in to today's live stream. So really appreciate that. Want to thank you guys. I will catch you guys either on Twitter or on Instagram. So make sure to follow those accounts. Links can be found in the description down below. To those that have not subscribed yet to the YouTube channel, make sure to do so as well. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you and